Hi students, in my previous video I have elaborated what are the different types of communication barriers exist. In this video I will focus on initially what are the steps we need to take to overcome the barriers of effective communication. There are some definitely there are some elements which we need to consider, or there are some issues we need to focus to make effective communication. The first one is eye contact and visible mouth. If you are a public speaker or if you are sharing some information with others, your eyes are most expressive. You have to maintain a steady eye contact with the audience or with the receiver to create reinforcement in the mind of the audience or in the mind of the receiver. So eye contact and visible mouth. Your mouth should be visible to all the speaker, to all the listener, or to all the audience. So eye contact and visible mouth is very important in creating effective communication. Then comes the body language. Your body language should be proper and appropriate. Your non-verbal communication should be very straight and straightforward. And through the use of non-verbal communication and verbal communication, you can effectively convey lots of effective information to the to the audience. Then comes silence. Silence is basically a pause which is essential to revive the attention of the listeners or audience. So, while delivering a long speech, you should have some short pauses or silence in your speech so that the attention of the listeners can be revived. Then, smiling face. This is very important, and this is the expression of a positive body language. There should be a gentle smile on your face. It influences, it will express your positive body language, your confidence level, and a very charming personality in front of the audience. Then, some questions in the middle of your conversation may help you to revive the um, attention of the audience. You may ask simple and short questions to the audience so that they can interact and participate in the conversational process or in the communication process. Then you may seek some opinion from the audience. If they give positive opinions, then it will give if you will be you will be able to get some encouragement to continue your speech. So, in effective communication, you should properly understand the process of communication, which includes the principles, elements, and different aspects. Then you should be clear about the message, what you are trying to convey to others, and you have to understand the pulse of the audience. Then you need to plan the communication process in a well organized manner. This organization will depend on the mental wavelength of the audience. You have to map the intellect and the capability of the audience, and accordingly you have to restructure your message so that it can be easily understood by the audience. You should carefully consider how the message is to be conveyed, the words to be chosen, and the feedback to be obtained from the audience. Extreme uh, and strong feelings like anger, depression, frustration, etc., should be avoided during the conversation process, because these strong feelings can work as a barrier to communication. You should be very positive in approach and should have proper mental preparation to make communication effective. Mental preparation helps a lot to convey your message successfully. Then you should be very sincere and consistent to make communication effective. Consistency helps to reconnect with the audience, and your sincerity develops a feeling of trust in the audience. So these two elements are highly important. Then you should not be forgetful to collect or to obtain feedback from the audience. To be an effective communicator, you should not overburden with too much of information. You should take uh, take care not to overload or overstretch your message. It will create a psychological blockage inside the uh, listeners and may create a psychological barrier. So you need to maintain these steps while speaking in front of the public, or in front of a in front of a communicator, sorry, in front of a receiver. Okay, and at the end you have to summarize whatever you have said. So summarization at the end helps a lot to develop a concrete understanding in the mind of the listeners. So if we follow these steps, like maintaining a steady eye contact and visible mouth, with maintaining proper body language, developing small pauses or silence, then having a smiling face, asking several questions in between the conversation, seeking encouragement to continue your speech, and at the end summarizing what has been said during the whole conversation may help you to develop better understanding, and it will also help to overcome the barriers, if there is any in the conversation process. Then the art of effective communication. So different uh, factors may arise, and we have to take necessary steps to remove all the negative factors from the conversation to make the conversation very effective. So the art of effective communication involves lots of different concepts and ideas. Let's come to the very first point. Paralanguage. The non-verbal aspects of the spoken language is known as paralanguage. It indicates the qualities of voice. It may the way we use it and the sounds we make without uttering words. This is called the paralanguage. This paralanguage may include tone. Okay. Tone is the quality of voice. Then intonation. Intonation indicates the sound pattern of the sentence. It is properly dependent on the tone, and there are three types of intonation patterns. Like the rising pattern. The pattern is generally produced when one starts the conversation. So at the starting of the conversation we can see the rising pattern, then the falling pattern. When the conversation is at the ending, normally this is generally produced when one is going to end the speaking or conversation. So falling pattern is normally we notice when the conversation is going to end. Then the stable pattern. It is generally a continuous pattern which is produced during the speaking process. Okay, so this is called the stable pattern. Then pronunciation. Pronunciation indicates uh, it indicates to the accepted standard of the way in which the spoken language is uttered. So pronunciation is very important to develop clear understanding, or it helps in proper transmission of meaning. Then comes the accent. It is that aspect of spoken language which characterizes pronunciation. So Pronunciation and proper accent help to attract the attention of the audience. Then comes stress. Stress indicates to the amount of air engaged in pronouncing a particular sound. How much air is to be released depends on the position and importance of a particular sound. Proper stress helps us to realize the importance of a word in a concept or in a message. Then comes pitch. Pitch indicates the quality of a note in a scale. Then comes volume. It is the amount of voice which is produced during speaking. If the amount is much, it is called loud, and if the amount is less, it is called soft. Here it is very important to mention that a loud voice is very effective in developing proper communication. Okay, then speed. Speed indicates how fast the voice is produced. It depends on the emotion and excitement of the speaker. Okay, speed can affect the listener's level of interest, the comprehensibility of your message, and your tone and pitch. So, whenever you are speaking something, you need to try to speak it slow and clearly. You need to have a gentle smile on your face. It will help you keep calm. You need to monitor your speaking speed, and you need to control your nervousness, so that you will be able to impact your uh, audience. Okay, then comes the silence. When silence is employed for the purpose of communication, it is not negative. It is the small absence of speech. Rather, it indicates a pause in a speech or communication which creates a positive impact in the mind of the listener. It helps to revive the you know revive the revive the attention, revive the interest in the mind of the listener. So all these factors are really important to develop a proper understanding. Okay, then 7 C's of communication. 7 C's means there are 7 words which is started with C, and these 7 C's are very important, and every sender should keep in mind these 7 C's while forming their message. If we form any kind of message by maintaining the principle of 7 C's, then obviously this message will be very effective in generating a complete understanding in the mind of the receiver. What are the 7 C's? The first one is completeness. It means the message communicated in an effective communication process should have a proper format and a proper beginning, middle, and ending. If a message is complete, then it will be able to generate a sense of satisfaction in the mind of audience or listener. Then concreteness. The message which is shared by the sender should be backed by factful data, different tangible and intangible, qualitative and quantitative facts and figures. If the message is concrete in support of data and evidence, then obviously it will build a trust in the mind of the listeners. Then courtesy. Courtesy means the message should be legally and factfully true in order to make communication effective. And while speaking, it should be it should be shared by showing respect to the audience or to the listener. The message should be transmitted with mutual love, respect, and humbleness to make the communication process effective. This is what courtesy means. Then correctness. The message which is shared by the sender should be true at any cost, and it should be legally and factfully true in order to make communication effective and to build up a sense of trust with the receiver. Then clarity. Clarity means there should be no obstruction, first of all, in the effective communication process. The message should be correctly transmitted. This is the first criteria. And in the second place, clarity means the message should be clear. It should be consisted of very simple language, simple terms, so that it is able to generate complete understanding in the mind of the listener. Then consideration. Consideration means we have to consider the listener first on the basis of the intellectual capability, and on the basis of the knowledge of the listener. We need to restructure our messages so that the message is transmitted to the receiver successfully. So consideration is a factor, and in 7 C's of communication we have to focus on you consideration, you factor rather than I factor. Communication is not a place to show our mastery. I may be good in English, but while communicating with an office bearer, we need to communicate in local language so that the message is successfully understood by the man, by the office bearer. So this is what consideration means. Then conciseness. An effective communication process should be precise and to the point. A too much elaborative message can misguide the listener. So if a message is specific, concise and to the point, it will develop better understanding. So these are all 7 C's: completeness, concreteness, courtesy, correctness, clarity, consideration and conciseness. And if we frame our message by applying these 7 C's or keeping these 7 C's in our mind, if we reframe our message, definitely this message will be more comprehensible in the mind of the listeners. So this is what the 7 C's of communication means. I hope this video will do good to make your concepts clear on the topics I have elaborated in this slide. And all these topics are very important. Question may come in your semester examination. So listen to this video very carefully. If you have any doubt, you can ask me in the class, or you can write me in the chat box. Okay, so listen to this video very carefully, and I hope I can develop more videos. I can make more videos to make your understanding clear. Thank you.